Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world, with me, Deepika, coming up in the next half an hour. Swiss president says New Year's Eve fire at ski resort among country's worst tragedies. At least 40 people killed, over 100 injured, flags to fly at half-mast for 5 days. Hindu businessmen brutally attacked, set on fire in Bangladesh, raising minority violence concerns. Clashes between protesters and security forces in Iran leave 6 dead amid cost of living protests. And Russia hands over evidence to US claiming Ukrainian drone targeted Putin's residence, escalating tensions in peace talks. Good afternoon to all the viewers joining us now. To begin with Switzerland. Authorities are investigating the fire that killed several people and injured over 100 at a crowded bar in the Swiss ski resort of Crans-Montana. Let's take a look at this report to know how the events unfolded.
Dozens of people are feared dead and more than 100 injured after a devastating fire tore through a crowded bar during a New Year's Eve party in the Swiss ski resort of Crans-Montana. The blaze broke out post-midnight at a bar called Lee Constellation, a popular spot among locals and young visitors. Authorities say the cause remains unclear. Investigators are examining safety failures and have launched a full-scale inquiry. According to a witness, the fire may have started in the bar's basement when birthday candles on a bottle came too close to the wooden ceiling. Swiss authorities deployed 10 helicopters and 40 ambulances to assist the victims, transporting the seriously injured to hospitals. Eyewitnesses described scenes of panic as flames spread quickly through the bar.
We were yelling fire, fire, and then we thought it was a joke and that it was not necessarily serious. And then suddenly a huge cloud of black smoke. We could not breathe anymore. And then maybe we had to get out and everyone got out. But a crowd gathered, so we could not get out, so we tried to hide.
Switzerland is already calling it as one of its worst tragedies.
The fire that occurred last night in a bar in Crans-Montana is one of the worst tragedies our country has ever known. Many lives, mostly young people, have been lost. Around 100 people were injured, many seriously. And behind these numbers are faces, names, families, destinies brutally cut short or forever shattered.
Hundreds lined up to pay respects outside the bar. Forensic teams working behind cordons are trying to identify the dead using dental and DNA records. Authorities warn the process will take days due to the severity of the burns. Victims include citizens from several countries. Italy, France have confirmed that their nationals are missing after the mishap. What was meant to be a night of celebration turned into one of Switzerland's deadliest modern tragedies. Crans-Montana, a resort known for skiing, golfing and luxury tourism, now mourns dozens of victims, many of them young. Bureau Report, DD India.
A massive fire engulfed a historic church in Amsterdam in the early hours of New Year's Day on Thursday. The blaze tore through the 19th century Wonderkerk, destroying large sections of the neo-Gothic building and causing its iconic spire to collapse. The fire broke out shortly after midnight near the city's central Wonderpark, reducing much of the landmark built in 1872 to ruins. Authorities said the cause of the fire remains under investigation. In Iran, clashes between protesters and security forces across several cities left 6 people dead as protesters over worsening economic conditions spread nationwide. Iran's Fars news agency reported that some protesters in Lodegan threw stones at government buildings, mosques and banks, prompting police to respond with tear gas. It added buildings suffered serious damage and that police detained several individuals. In Asna, the agency reported that rioters exploited a demonstration to assault a police station. Separately, news agency Tasneem said authorities in Tehran arrested 30 people accused of public order offences. The Deputy Governor of Lorestan province, said Purali, stated that 13 police officers and members were injured by stone pelting during demonstrations. The protests began in Tehran on Sunday, where shopkeepers went on a strike over high prices and economic stagnation, and have since spread to other parts of the country. Supporters of Yemen's main southern separatist group, the Southern Transitional Council, rallied in the southern port city of Aden to demand secession from the north. Protesters in southern Yemen's port city of Aden called for independence from northern authorities. The Southern Transitional Council, which controls much of the south, has been ordered to withdraw from Hadramaut and Mehra provinces. Saudi Arabia also urged the UAE-backed group to pull back its forces after seizing key areas and government offices. Meanwhile, Aden Airport was closed, disrupting flights despite limited arrivals earlier in the day. The move highlights growing tensions in a country already divided by years of civil war. And now let's get you a quick update on Russia-Ukraine crisis. A senior Russian military official on Thursday presented the US military attaché with what he said was a component of a Ukrainian drone, claiming the data proved Kyiv had targeted a Russian presidential residence. Moscow has alleged that Ukraine attempted to strike President Vladimir Putin's residence in the Novgorod region using dozens of long-range drones, and warned it could reconsider its position in talks with the United States on ending the conflict. Ukraine and several Western countries have rejected the claim. While US President Donald Trump initially appeared sympathetic to Russia's allegation, he later expressed doubts. Ukraine dismissed the accusation as disinformation aimed at straining ties with the US.
I've invited you here for an important matter. We'd like to inform you that we found the wreckage of the drones that carried out this attack. The navigation systems of some of these drones are well preserved and technically functional. A decryption of the memory contents of the navigation controllers of these drones, performed by specialists from Russian intelligence agencies, has irrefutably confirmed that the target of the attack was the complex of buildings housing the Russian president's residence in the Novgorod region.
In Bangladesh, a Hindu businessman was brutally attacked, stabbed and set on fire in Shariatpur district, raising fresh concerns over violence against minority communities. The incident took place on Wednesday night when 50-year-old Kokon Chandra Das was returning home in an auto rickshaw when he was stopped by a group of assailants. The attackers assaulted him with sharp weapons, robbed him of cash, poured a flammable liquid on him and set him on fire. The injured jumped into a nearby pond to save himself. Local residents rescued him and took him to the hospital before he was referred to a hospital in Dhaka due to critical injuries. The incident follows reports of other recent violent attacks involving members of the minority community, raising concerns amongst right groups and local observers. European Union member Bulgaria marked its entry into the eurozone on Thursday with a celebratory display of euro coins on the facade of the central bank in Sofia. Fireworks lit up the capital as the country celebrated the long-awaited milestone. As of midnight, the euro became the country's currency and the leva was banished into history. Bulgaria's entry into the eurozone will take the number of Europeans using the currency to more than 350 million. Bulgarians have mixed feelings about the historic currency change. Some see it as a positive step away from the country's socialist past, while others criticize the decision for lacking public consultation and are worried over higher prices and political instability. The last country to join the single currency group was Croatia in January, back in the year 2023. European Central Bank in Frankfurt is lit up in Bulgaria's national colors. This marks Bulgaria's entry into the eurozone as the 21st member country. Nearly 20 years after joining the European Union, Bulgaria now officially adopts the euro. The move strengthens the country's integration into Europe's financial system. Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro on Thursday said he was open to cooperation with Washington after weeks of American military pressure. In an interview on state television, Maduro said he's open for dialogues wherever and whenever US wants. Well, till date, Maduro has not confirmed a US land attack on a docking facility in his country that allegedly targeted drug ports, according to US President Donald Trump's comments on Monday. The attack would amount to the first known land strike of the US military campaign against drug trafficking from Latin America. Trump on Monday said the United States hit and destroyed a docking area for alleged Venezuela drug boats. Trump would not say if it was a military or a CIA operation or where the strike occurred, noting that it was along the shore. Now, the Venezuelan government has released 88 more detainees who were held after protests following the July 2024 Venezuelan election. This comes after the release of 99 individuals on December the 26th, bringing the local number of freed prisoners to 187, marking the second mass release in 2 weeks. The government described these actions as part of a comprehensive review process of cases ordered by President Nicolas Maduro. The Venezuelan government stated that it does not hold political prisoners, but rather imprisoned politicians, claiming that those arrested were seeking to destabilize the country. Several NGOs estimate that around 900 people still remain detained, including those arrested before the election. Starlink will reconfigure its satellite constellation in 2026 by lowering all spacecraft currently operating at about 550 kilometers to roughly 480 kilometers, according to Michael Nichols, SpaceX's vice president of Starlink engineering. The move is aimed at improving safety in Earth's orbit. The announcement follows a December incident in which one Starlink satellite suffered an anomaly, produced a small amount of debris, and lost contact at an altitude of around 418 kilometers, likely due to an onboard explosion. Nichols said lowering the orbit would concentrate Starlink satellites in a less crowded region below 500 kilometers, reducing collision risks. The number of satellites in orbit has surged as governments and companies expand space-based services. A storm swept through Southern California on Thursday, prompting flood warnings for millions of residents. The storm also left over 3,000 Los Angeles customers without power. The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power reported localized outages in Sherman Oaks, Vermont, Slauson, Highland Park and Los Feliz, but said its overall system remained unstable. Authorities warned of debris flows and flash flooding as rain continued across Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, San Bernardino and Ventura counties. Turkey welcomed the new year from under a blanket of snow in Istanbul. On the first day of the new year, the Turkish city also received its first snowfall of the year. After falling hard in the early morning, the snowfall eased off later in the day and some people came out to enjoy the winter landscape. The cold have swept across much of the country. Schools in several cities will remain closed on Friday due to heavy snowfall. Time for a short break, but still to come on the other side. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to inaugurate Grand International Exposition of Sacred Viprava relics related to Lord Buddha on Saturday. In a major boost, Ahmedabad flower show sets 2 Guinness World Records, gains fame at global level. An Australian batter Usman Khawaja announces retirement from international cricket.
From monsoons to winters, seasons have now become unpredictable. So today let's meet people who who, despite the challenges of change, are working towards a better future.
I started working in waste management and focused on reducing polythene use to protect the environment.
Within 6 months, all the other plants turned into manure, but this one plant was still blooming. So that was a big motivation for me to start Only Adenium.
If we can continue this initiative, we hope by 2050 to see a green belt along the entire coastline.
When you're surrounded by asphalt, concrete, glass, and these run-of-the-mill buildings that are becoming more and more alike, then of course people will want to create a more natural, more livable niche here and there.
Welcome back after that short break. You're watching DD India Live. Australia has provided duty-free access to all Indian exports starting today under the Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement between the two countries. DD India's Adamya Mishra brings us more. Take a look.
Australia has provided duty-free access to all Indian exports starting 1st January under the Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement between the two countries. Commenting on the third anniversary of the deal, which came into effect on December 29, 2022, India's Commerce Minister Piyush Goyal said that 100% Australian tariff lines will be zero duty for Indian exports from 1st of January 2026. In a social media post, the minister highlighted that the agreement is benefiting Indian exporters, MSMEs, farmers, and workers. He also said that India's exports to Australia increased 8% in 2024 to 2025. Over the past 3 years, India-Australia Economic Cooperation and Trade Agreement, or the ECTA, has delivered sustained export growth, deeper market access, and stronger supply chain resilience. Under the agreement, trade balance will improve and stronger gains are expected across manufacturing, chemicals, textiles, pharma, petroleum, and gems and jewelry. In April to November 2025, agri exports surged, led by fruits and vegetables, marine products, spices, and coffee, while gems and jewelry exports jumped 16%. India-Australia ECTA continues to anchor India's economic engagement in the Indo-Pacific, aligned with Make in India and the vision of Viksit Bharat 2047. Adamya Mishra's report for DD India.
Reserve Bank of India has released its Financial Stability Report for December 2025, flagging confidence in the strength and resilience of India's financial system despite global uncertainties. The report comes as the government continues to push wide-ranging reforms to sustain economic momentum. Here's more.
The Indian economy continues to grow at a strong pace, supported by robust domestic demand, moderate inflation, and prudent macroeconomic policies despite global headwinds. These are major highlights of Reserve Bank of India's latest Financial Stability Report. The report says, despite an uncertain and challenging global economic backdrop, the Indian economy continues to grow strongly, underpinned by robust domestic demand, benign inflation, and prudent macroeconomic policies. The domestic financial system remains robust and resilient, bolstered by strong balance sheets, easy financial conditions, and low financial market volatility. The health of the scheduled commercial banks remains sound, with strong capital and liquidity buffers, improved asset quality, and robust profitability. The insurance sector continues to display balance sheet resilience, and the consolidated solvency ratio remained above the minimum threshold limit. The RBI report follows PM Modi's social media post highlighting landmark reforms driving India's growth journey. Prime Minister underscored the transformative reforms undertaken in 2025 that have set India firmly on the path of accelerated growth and development. PM said that a series of path-breaking reforms across multiple sectors have added momentum to India's growth story and strengthened efforts to build a developed nation. PM underscored the reforms spanning labor laws, trade agreements, logistics, energy and markets, noting that India's growth is anchored in credibility, stability, and long-term confidence. During the 50th meeting of Pragati, Prime Minister Narendra Modi gave the mantra, reform to simplify, perform to deliver, transform to impact. PM said that Pragati is essential to sustain reform momentum and ensure delivery. With a stable financial system and sustained reform momentum, India appears well positioned to navigate global challenges and maintain its growth trajectory. As reforms continue and financial stability remains intact, India's growth story is gaining renewed confidence on both policy and performance fronts. Bureau Report, DD India.
The government has imposed an additional excise duty on cigarettes and other tobacco products effective the 1st of February. The hike in excise duty on cigarettes will ensure that cigarettes carry a tax burden proportionate to their severe public health impact and also maintain a tax incidence closer to international best practices. The levy of such excess on pan masala and excise duty on tobacco was approved by the Parliament last month. Now, the Finance Ministry has notified amendments to the Central Excise Act imposing an excise duty ranging from 2,050 rupees to 8,500 rupees per 1,000 sticks based on cigarettes' length, effective the 1st of February. This duty will be over and above the 40% GST. The ministry has also notified the Health and National Security Cess Act, levying cess on the manufacturing capacity of pan masala related businesses from 1st Feb. The total tax incidence on pan masala after taking into account 40% GST will be retained at the current level of 88%. Chewing and jarda, scented tobacco and gutka will attract an excise duty of 82% and 91% respectively. Now, from the 1st of February, tobacco products including pan masala and cigarettes will also attract 40% GST, while the bidis will be taxed at 18%. The Finance Ministry has also notified the chewing tobacco, jarda and scented tobacco along with gutka packing machines rules 2025, and manufacturers according to that will have to install a functional CCTV system covering all packing machines and preserving the footage for at least 24 months. Such manufacturers will also have to disclose the excise authorities the number of machines and their capacities as well, and these norms will be effective from the 1st of February likewise. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate the Grand International Exposition of Sacred Piprava relics related to Lord Buddha in New Delhi on Saturday. The exposition brings together for the first time the Piprava relics repatriated after more than a century with authentic relics and archaeological materials from Piprava that are preserved in the collections of the National Museum in New Delhi and Kolkata's Indian Museum. The Piprava relics discovered in 1898 hold a central place in the archaeological study of early Buddhism. These are among the earliest and most historically significant relics deposits directly connected to Lord Buddha. The exhibition underscores India's enduring civilizational links with Buddhist teachings and government's efforts to preserve spiritual and cultural heritage. The repatriation was achieved through sustained government action, institutional cooperation and public-private partnership. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar inaugurated IITM Global and Festival Fortnight at IIT Madras on Friday. Addressing the event, the minister said that India carries a strong sense of its past, having evolved from an ancient civilization into a modern nation-state. He also highlighted India's deep-rooted belief system and noted that while Western-dominated world culture once overshadowed many traditions, diversity is now re-emerging.
I think it's non-Western, and it's important for us to explain to the West that look, there was a period of distortion where the natural diversity of the world was suppressed, and that diversity is now returning. That diversity will coexist with the West. In many ways, it would actually reinforce a lot of things the West believes in. It was our decision to opt for a democratic political model, which actually made the very idea of democracy as a universal political concept.
The 14th Ahmedabad International Flower Show 2026 has achieved a significant milestone on the global stage this year. Held under the theme Bharat Ek Gatha, the flower show has set 2 new Guinness World Records. The first record is for the world's largest flower mandala, while the second is for the world's largest flower portrait of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel. The flower show opened on Thursday and will run until the 22nd of January. On to sports, Australia's long-time opening batter Usman Khawaja on Friday called time on his international career by announcing his retirement. Usman Khawaja said he's still battling racial stereotypes. The left-handed batter confirmed that the upcoming fifth and final Ashes test against England would be his final game in international cricket. The southpaw informed his teammates of his decision on Friday morning. The 39-year-old made his test debut at the same ground in the final match of the 2010-2011 Ashes series and has since scored 6,206 runs at an average of 43.39 in 87 matches, including 16 centuries. The batter's future in Test cricket has been one of the hottest topics of this summer's Ashes series as he turned 39 last month. Now, with Australia 3-1 up in the series headed into the final test, Khawaja confirmed he would be calling time after the final Sydney Cricket Ground test. And with this, it's a wrap at this edition of DD India Live. But do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Deepika, and from all of us here in New Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.